Hello, welcome to Stand on the Rock. I am Rocky, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about the definition of murder. Um, so, when dealing with the topic of abortion and having these conversations with the community, um, it's very important to define terms. And the definition of murder is an important one that we need to define. I want to lay out a definition. I think this definition is good and should be agreed upon by basically everyone. I'm not seeing where any dispute could really happen, but I just want to lay it out and make it clear on a few different categories that distinguish it from other forms of killing. Not every form of killing would fall under the category of murder. And I'm also going to provide some biblical support on why certain capital crimes can be judged and penalized by execution, and that would be, just. So let's dive in here. So, what is the definition of murder? Murder is the premeditated, unjustified taking of an innocent human life. Okay, so first of all, it's premeditated, and let's define premeditated. That is intentional, that is planned. Okay, there are certain cases where someone might be killed where it is an accident or it is not premeditated. It is not intended. So that is something that would fall under the category of manslaughter or something like that, which is not murder, and is treated differently. So one is that it is premeditated. Two is that it is unjustified. And so let's dig into what is unjustified. What's an unjustified killing versus a justified killing? There are certain killings that are justified, such as self-defense can be justified. If your life is in jeopardy and someone's attacking you, you have the right to defend your life. And if that causes death to the attacker, then you are not going to be held accountable for murder. In that case, there's also in the situations of there's just warfare. If you're a soldier at war and you kill the enemy, you are not going to be charged with murder in that case as well. And I also want to explain another justified killing would be in the form of the death penalty and capital crimes. The penalty for capital crimes is death. So the civil government has the authority to bear the sword and to execute criminals who have committed capital crimes and are found guilty after, of course, a due process. So you would be charged, you would go through due process, and after you're found guilty, the civil government has authority to execute that criminal, and the executioner would not be liable for murder in that case. That would be another just killing. That would be a justified killing. So an unjustified killing is if the person that's being killed is not guilty of any capital crime. And it's not in self-defense, and it's not in a situation of warfare. So in those cases, you will fall under the category of you're in the line for murder here if it's premeditated and unjustified. And when we're talking about the child in the womb, of course, is not guilty of any capital crime. It's completely innocent in those regards. They've done nothing to deserve death. the death penalty, and it's not warfare and it's not self-defense. They're not attacking you. This is so far, abortion is falling under the category of murder here. And lastly, it's the taking of an innocent human life. It's the premeditated, unjustified taking of an innocent human life. So it would have to be a human life. It's humans that this falls under. This murder is to protect human beings, not plant life, not bacteria, not animals or other sorts of things like this, other forms of life, many forms of life out there. And human beings are the species that have been created in the image of God and are endowed with inalienable rights from our Creator, that such as the right to life and not to murder each other. So it's an innocent human life, premeditated, unjustified. So this is why abortion would fall under this category and should be treated as such. So just to provide now some biblical support for these capital crimes, okay, I wanted to just express a few passages that reflect God's command to administer justice in the form of the death penalty, in form of execution, for anyone guilty of these particular crimes. So capital crimes would be murder, one. It would be rape or molestation, okay, two, and man-stealing and kidnapping and enslaving, okay? So man-stealing and kidnapping and enslaving someone is worthy of the death penalty. Rape is worthy of the death penalty, and murder is also the just penalty is the death penalty. So a few passages here to begin. Exodus 21 verse 16 says, "Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death." Okay. You also see this in Deuteronomy 24:7. "If a man is found stealing one of his brothers of the people of Israel, and he treats him as a slave or sells him, then that thief shall die. You shall purge the evil from your midst." Okay, so this is the command for the death penalty to be administered to kidnapping and enslaving someone. Next, in regards to rape, okay, in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 25 to 27, you have it says the following: "But if in the open country a man meets a young woman who is betrothed, and the man seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. She has committed no offense punishable by death, for this case is like that of a man attacking and murdering his neighbor, because he met her in the open country, and though the betrothed young woman cried for help, there was no one to rescue her." So this is laying out that when you rape someone, that you shall die. You're giving your penalty is your life for that. So lastly, we have the case of murder. So in the cases of murder, this goes back all the way to Noah. Back in the specific command was given to Noah in Genesis chapter 9, after God is starting all over. This is way before Abraham and before the law to Moses, for sure. Way before all of that. This has always been part of God's command for his creatures. And this is Genesis 9:6. "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image." So this not only gives us the command not to murder, and also gives us the penalty for murder, which is life for life here in this case. But it also gives the reason why this command is given. For God made man in his own image. Because we are made in the image of God, these moral human rights are endowed to us. We are inherently valuable and worthy of dignity, value, and respect. All human beings by nature of being human. So you have that. You have Exodus 21 verse 12 says, whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. Now you also have later in Exodus 21, moving into verses 22 to 25. A lot of people are familiar with this verse, actually, this passage actually, because they're familiar with the eye for eye, tooth for tooth passage, and that's where this comes from. But they don't actually realize this passage, where it's commanding life for life and for justice, an eye for eye. It is speaking about the child in the womb. So let me read these 3 verses to you. When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her children come out, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judge determines. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. So it's, if whatever happened to that child, if the child comes out hurt, then then an equal penalty needs to be administered. If the child dies, the penalty is life for life. So the child in the womb is just as valuable as a human being outside the womb, right there. You also have in Leviticus 24:17, whoever takes a human life shall surely be put to death. So this is reiterated multiple times. And you also have the Apostle Paul in the New Testament reaffirming these commands. In Acts 25:11, Apostle Paul says, if then I am a wrongdoer and have committed anything for which I deserve to die, I do not seek to escape death. So he says, I appeal to Caesar. He's appealing to Caesar. He's submitting to the governing authorities, and that is reinforced here, that Paul is saying that the death penalty is just and right. You also have his letter to the Romans in chapter 13. Paul writes, Romans 13:1-4 says, let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid. He does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. So this is clearly stating that the civil authorities have the sword, which is to administer the death penalty. So whether it's by the sword or another method, it still is. That's the implication, is that the death penalty is righteous and just. And so these are justified killings for people who have committed capital crimes and found guilty after due process. But the child in the womb, of course, is not guilty of any of those things. So that's why abortion would fall under the category of murder. And this would be the definition that I think is appropriate to define what is murder. This would be what murder is. So thanks for watching, and hope this was helpful, and we'll catch you next time. God bless.